So my thoughts today may be a little more PG, possibly R rated, so fair warning. Thinking a lot about heaven. And, you know, when I thought about, I had never studied heaven because I believe in God. God is good. And I know where I'm going. So I haven't really worried about it. It hasn't been a big concern for me to think, what's heaven going to be like? It's going to be great. That's what I know. So I've never studied the Bible in terms of heaven a lot. I don't. So this is not coming from a biblical view. I also don't have verses to support what my thoughts are right now on it. I just know, I know God. And I know God is good. And I know God is amazingly creative and vibrant, and I look at this earth, in this broken world, in these decaying bodies filled with sin and perversion and just how many amazing, wonderful things there are here leads me to really believe, and I've never thought of these things before, but I've really been thinking about sex in heaven. And not sex like we know it, but the idea of intimacy in this ultimate, this passion and this love and this explosion of feeling. And I don't know what our bodies will be like. I don't know. It's hard to almost talk about it because sex is the wrong word to use. Because you can't in this world take sex and not have the perversion that's happened in this world. But if I think about the Garden of Eden and the nakedness of Adam and Eve and the purity of it and how amazing and complete and fulfilling physical connection had to be. And then I think about my most wonderful, intimate moments with John and how awesome they were. And I think God is good, and God is, he created these wonderful things for us to experience, regardless of how broken and how corrupt they become in the world and how abused and sad and disgusting so many things have become. The intent that God created the world with, in terms of the joys that we feel in these human bodies, I mean, taste and the food and the senses. What are senses like in heaven? What is intimacy? And I'm going to call it physical because I don't know what else to use, but how amazing it's going to be. And I thought about my vision of heaven until John has now been moved to the other side. The veil is there, but my eyes are a little more open, I think, because it's on my mind more. John's on my mind, and my yearning for him and for God. And I think I saw heaven in terms of in the way that I would see a photograph. I see this stagnant, beautiful, no doubt, but stagnant pictures of heaven, of beauty and fullness and all these wonderful things that are great. And my vision, because I know that John is alive, he is alive, and he is just fabulous. You know, I'm so excited to see him, hopefully in 50 years, but I'm so excited to and in whatever way I know him, just his presence, and to be in his presence and God's presence and all of this. I see it no longer in the terms of a photograph. I see it more like a video. And I think that's because as the seasons are changing for me, if I just think of heaven as a photograph, I'm sad. And I'm like, is John stagnant? Doesn't he enjoy some type of season? I mean, time's different, we know that, but something that keeps him vibrant and alive and breathing the fullness of God. I think, yeah, it's not stagnant. It's not stagnant, and it's not. God didn't create us to be boring and dull. I mean, this is his canvas here on earth. And if these beautiful mountains that I get to hike, and the waterfalls and the sounds and the senses, all of these things they so much pale in comparison to what heaven is, and it is alive. And I that gives me such comfort to think about my man being fully alive, and not in a stagnant photograph, but in an ongoing video, moving, vibrant, living, breathing place where he's experiencing completeness and whether, I don't know, physically, whatever it is, but that bond that I had with him, that physical connection that I had with him, that in some non-perverse way, because this is not implying anything gross, but in some non-perverse way that almost is incomprehensible because of the world we live in, but there's this intimacy and being brought into God's presence, and physically there's got to be an overwhelming emotion of, the senses have to be just exploding with joy and completeness, and it's exciting. It's exciting to think about him being fulfilled and knowing that I will be too. And I hope, and I know when I get there it won't really matter, but in this world I hope that I have a super, super extra special godly bond with John. And I don't know how that will look, but the thought of it it brings me great joy. Great joy to know that I'm driving around on this beautiful day that is crisp and cool and refreshing, and it pales in comparison to what my man is experiencing. And I'm so happy for him, even though I miss him so much. I'm so happy for him.